Welcome back, guys, to your Grimerica Outlawed Roundup Plus edition. Of course, coming at you March 3rd, 2026 with Flying Afghanis and Froze Fusion. I think I got a pretty good idea what your title's about.
Okay. You want to guess right now or?
Well, is it just about, is it about them trying to stop fusion by assassinating scientists?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's a little bit less than that, but yeah,
I kind of figured.
it's got to do with the Epstein files. I mean, it's kind of what I was trying to predict when I did that show, when we did the Grimerica Outlawed show, when I was talking about all that, when I went through the history of the science suppression and stuff.
This is the Grimerica Outlawed show.
I guess I mean did we do a full show on it? I think we did a full show on it. Like, it wasn't a roundup. It was like, I think.
Well, before we jump into a bit of housekeeping, you can get the plus rate in the Apple Podcasts now. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, the native app, you can sign up for plus rate in app now, get the episodes in there. Of course, for you Spotify people, you can also do it in there. You can sign up and link the Patreon links with Spotify somehow. So I know a lot of people are listening to the plus episodes right on Patreon and right on Spotify through Patreon. So some ways to support the show right away. And then we're also experimenting with throwing these full videos up on our main Grimerica YouTube channel for members only. So we'll see how long that lasts before YouTube freaks out. But people are constantly asking for different ways to get the video other than just Substack and local. So, which probably aren't the easiest ways. I mean, Substack's pretty easy, but I could see how the listening experience might not be as streamlined as YouTube if you're driving or doing this or doing that.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. That's a good point. Yeah, because the video itself, the second half of video is really not available everywhere. Yeah.
So you can take a guess on mine?
Flying Afghani? No, I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Well, we'll get to that a little bit later. What about, so you must have have you seen the Wob Canoe thing?
No, I haven't. But before we do that, can I read a couple emails about our last Outlawed show? Kind of like as part of the housekeeping thing.
Sure.
And then we'll get into Wob Canoe. I haven't seen that. So we had a show with the autonomous trucker, the voice of Gord, his Substack, the autonomous truckers. He was Gord McGill. He was Canadian and he moved to the States. So I got a couple emails about it from Sir Scandinavian Paul. So Jasper Paul says, oh, hang on a sec. Yeah, he was remembering back in Vancouver there was a policy that they didn't stop. They would switch drivers on the fly, meaning they swapped while driving. This is Quick as Air Transport. It was a Vancouver-based company that was shut down. The DOT inspection is constantly refusing to inspect under trucks. Why do you think that is?
Because of the poop.
The poop all over the drivetrain. Mechanics constantly talk about not working on shit-stained undercarriage. One of the most unknown and dangerous things about truckers today is that trucks aren't standard anymore. The discipline of gearing up and down is gone. They drive them like cars, and stopping time and control are no longer learned. All right. So he says they shuttered 9 schools who simply sold Class 1 licenses. This is the 90s in Vancouver with these bogus truck schools. So this has been going on for longer than I expected. No class required. I had to take an air brakes course because he drives professionally to qualify for a number 3 license from Ontario. My class was in Burnaby, where our legitimate instructor talked about these schools. For the last 12 years, I've held a Class 1 air brakes and school bus ticket, watching it all over again. Last week, as you probably saw, 17 and 18-year-old girls were just killed just east of Jasper in a semi-collision. So far, no news about the truck at all. I have my suspension on this. Suspicion, it must say. But for the last 1.5 years, I drive our local transit bus. No more highway for me.
No more.
I live here, and I can't find the driver's name. It must be No, and nothing online. And then I have another email about that episode. Graham, I just enjoyed the pod with Gord McGill. Hopefully it's eye-opening for the folks out there who haven't noticed a common trope on our roads. This collision in the above article, so he's linking an above article about an ambulance crash. I won't call them accidents anymore after Gord's show happened about a month ago in our area. Of course, it is not reported in the article, but the ambulance was smashed by the transport who blew through a red at the intersection. And the driver, who was wearing sandals reportedly has been in the country for only a few weeks, according to people who were at the scene as witness. I live about 20 minutes north of the 10-acre truck stop that Gord mentioned in the show, which sadly is an IHOP now. As always, I appreciate what you guys do. Thanks always for the great content. He says you can't find anything official about the online about official causes or the identity of the driver. Of course, it's a small town and word of mouth travels quite fast from witnesses. So at least it can't be memory hold by the police and media. This is a huge problem across Canada. I was happy to see that you guys are shining some light on it. Makes me cringe anytime I'm on a major highway, especially the 401.
Oh, yeah. I've been keeping my head up on the 401. The 401 was not good at the best of times. So what do you think Wob Canoe did before he was the premier of Manitoba?
I should know the answer to this. He was a activist.
Did you have rappers on your bingo card?
Oh, no ways. Rappers? Wow, look at that.
I hold on to my joy, no, you cannot detach me. Never stop running on my demons, my catchment. Nothing in this world.
There's Wob right there. You see him?
Nice.
Down below or up above that I cannot overcome with some prayer and your love, so I pray.
And if
Yeah, he got hit by a car there. You know, it says the Canadian Heritage Moment, which means I'm assuming our tax dollars paid for this music video.
In case I never say goodbye, cause you know how this
There's Wob dead in front of me.
life is. And if I never blow up, then at least I was the nicest. I am my own man, whether mainstream or a native. So
This is the Wob solo.
I can walk up in the sweater in the legislative and get the people tripping out whenever that I say original, creative, successful. I made it, but can't stay planted. Quoted, not a quote. I pass up anybody's standards. I like to get the cash, but the cash I never panded. Asking why I'm rapping. You really want the answer? My mind is full of cancer.
Anyway.
Wow, are you sure that's not a recent ad or for him about?
Oh, he has long hair now. He has long hair.
Okay.
Which takes a couple of years to grow for sure, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So
It's a pretty good song. I mean, what's funny is I feel like it makes sense that he's doing this rap video and he's part of the left in Manitoba. Like, I just don't think that. I don't know. I don't want to say anymore. Really, it just fits for me for some reason.
seems to fit. Anyway, you go, Wob. I mean, wow. I thought it had to be fake. It could just be fake.
I don't have anything about these premiers, like anything against these premiers doing whatever in the past. It just, for some reason, just doesn't surprise me. Because isn't he like NDP or?
NDP, yeah, I think he's NDP. But he's the NDP who didn't do the gun buyback.
Right.
So do you want to do Flying Afghanis?
Yeah, let's do the Flying Afghanis.
Flying Afghanis. George, this is George Norrie, I think. Who we met. Remember? Paradigm 2012?
Let me tell you about another story that is all around the internet. It is bizarre. A report apparently prepared for Prime Minister Putin by Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, circulating in the Kremlin.
This is a little older, obviously, but still fits.
States that the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, has now become the latest in a growing line of Western leaders to make a surprise visit to Afghanistan this month, following visits by President Barack Obama, British Prime Minister David Cameron, French President Nicolas Sarkozy. Only Sarkozy's trip was concealed, as he was already in India on a state visit when he was rushed, apparently, by U.S. military aircraft to the Afghan war zone. Why the sudden rush of these powerful leaders of the Western world to Afghanistan?
Why do you think?
Because of Gilgamesh's tomb?
No, close.
The giant?
It continues. Directly view the discovery by the U.S. military scientists of what is described as a Vimana, entrapped in a time well that has already caused the disappearance of at least 8 American soldiers trying to remove it from the cave that it has been hidden in for the past 5,000 years. A Vimana is an ancient flying machine. Sanskrit depicts it with different pictures. It's truly an amazing story. But could it be one of those internet myths? Well, up next, Stephen Quayle joins us. We'll talk with him about that on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast to Coast.
Remember Coast to Coast? Our tagline
love it,
when we first started the show was like Coast to Coast, but on demand. Before everything was on demand.
Yeah.
George Norrie. A Vimana is a mythical flying machine described in the ancient mythology of India. References to these flying machines are very commonplace in ancient Indian texts, even describing their use in warfare, as well as being able to fly within Earth's atmosphere. Vimanas were also said to be able to travel into space and travel submerged underwater as well. There is a very strange story that is out there on the internet that talks about a Vimana being discovered in Afghanistan in a cave in a hole.
Not alone. The story this is to break because the world's leaders are getting ready to make the grand announcement. The grand announcement will be that obviously.
No, 15 years later, no grand announcement. Or is this it? I mean, you could argue we're in the middle of the grand announcement.
Well, that's why I mentioned Gilgamesh, because have you heard that the deposition?
Yeah, didn't we do the Epstein email that said they found it?
We're not alone.
Well, would you
We're being
stop clip? Would you expect that to be asked of Hillary on right there on camera?
What are they asking, the disposition or whatever?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that part.
Yeah, I got a clip. I got a clip
where she slammed the table and left.
visited, but the Vimanas are even a more compelling story because even going back to the time of Babylon and the Chaldean Empire, they stated, let me just give a statement, we'll go from there. The privilege of operating a flying machine is great. The knowledge of flight is among the most ancient of our inheritance, a gift from those from upon high. We received it from them as a means of saving many lives. Now, what's fascinating is whether you're reading it in Sanskrit, whether you're reading it in cuneiform, whether you're reading it, talking about it, there are thousands of pages, not only on the fact that Vimanas exist, but how their propulsion system works, where they get their raw materials. And they describe in great detail, George, I mean, things that make the Pentagon absolutely salivate with the sheer glee of a new ancient weapon system. I was telling Tom Danheiser before we went on the air, I said, in order to understand the future, it's imperative to have a firm grasp of the past.
Grasp of the past. What do you think about that? I mean, it's cool how it says they can go in the water and out of the water. I mean, maybe it's all Vimanas.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I didn't even realize Vimana, like mana, the ancient word for magic or that material, like the gold, like when we had the Templar on.
Which one? Tim Hogan?
Yeah, Tim Hogan, the Grandmaster Templar. And it sort of all clicked together with me of how prevalent mana was back then in all these ancient cultures.
Do you have actually you could go ahead.
So let's check this out. So this is Rep Luna talking to Hillary.
Access, or did you ever inquire on the topic of UAP or Gilgamesh in your official or personal capacity, and why?
I was never denied access because I never asked for access.
Okay. In the efforts of having a transparent government and restoring faith within our country, do you believe that the American people deserve access to those topics?
I do, subject to any national security implications. I think the information should be made available. I think that's been ordered, or at least I read that it had been ordered.
So anyways, were you ever denied access, or did you ever inquire on the topic of UAP or Gilgamesh? Isn't that interesting that that's getting asked? What's probably even more crazy and interesting is this.
Are you aware of any files that were on Anthony Weiner's laptop in a folder that was titled insurance, life insurance, with a zip file titled Frazzle?
This is way outside the chairman's ruling. This is way
within the
outside
scope?
the scope.
Is this within the scope, Mr. Chairman?
So you should see the look on her face. She's a little uncomfortable, which is fair enough. Even if it wasn't true, you'd still be uncomfortable having to answer this.
Rules that it's not within the scope.
Mr. Chairman, based on what you said in the public hearing, is this within the scope?
We can go off the record for a moment.
Mr. Chairman, is this within the scope?
We'll go off the record and consult.
So they went off the record because she asked about Frazzle Drip and life insurance. That
Is that the lawyer going off?
that's the lawyer going off. What do you think about that? What was your sense about her reaction to all that?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. But yeah, it's hard to say.
It's so weird that Uma now is married to Soros's son, right? Like, what a perfect deep state connection that is, right? Goes from Anthony Weiner and that whole laptop and Hillary's missing emails and the emails from her server, that all that controversy from 2016 or whatever, and then she ends up married to Soros's son.
Well, did you hear about the new guy I'm gonna lead you into your, I'm assuming this will be a good lead in for your froze fusion segment. We might have this. I might be cutting your grass. Retired Major General Neil McCaslin, long connected to UFO programs, is reported missing. McCaslin was responsible for managing the Air Force's $2.2 billion science and technology program at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. McCaslin was mentioned in the 2016 WikiLeaks emails as an advisor to Tom DeLonge regarding how to move forward with UFO disclosure. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, well, not really. I heard about some other scientists that were suicided.
This clip could be a train wreck, but we'll see.
Major General Neil McCaslin, who is the former head of the Foreign Technology Back Engineering Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. This is whom I suspect was the general that Tom met with at an airport and who collected Tom his advisors. Major General McCaslin is responsible for managing the Air Force's $2.2 billion science and technology program. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the base where General McCaslin oversaw, has a long history with the UFO phenomena, being the place that the infamous Project Blue Book was based out of, and where all of the Project Blue Book files are located. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is also the place where the Army officially reported they took the crashed UFO wreckage from Roswell, New Mexico, before redacting their story and claiming it was a new weather balloon.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile found
I'm in the Army.
sometime last week has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
This leaked information provided much credibility to Tom's claims of working with government insiders towards UFO disclosure. These are not random government employees, but some of the highest-ranking government officials who, of all people, would have knowledge of UFOs. I recommend everyone reads these emails themselves. They can be found at wikileaks.org by searching DeLonge.
Tom DeLonge. Anyway, does that lead you in?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I mean, so do you remember when we did that episode and I brought it back to like Maxwell, Pergamon, and all the textbooks and the science, and I was trying to get Grok or GPT, whatever one I was using through this research to try and to tell me that Epstein, that whole thread of his was responsible for shutting down cold fusion. Like that was one of the things I was focused on. I couldn't find any evidence of it, but here's Ashton Forbes saying Epstein suppressed cold fusion. These emails say Epstein personally met with the head of the Mormon church and argued against funding it. His buddy Al Secco was telling Google it's pseudoscience. Meanwhile, the government had secretly solved fusion. Unreal. So
this is really a
this is coming from I'll click on that here. How did you kill him? There's still a group of these guys going strong. This is from to Jeff from Al regarding cold fusion. I killed Pons years ago. And they don't mean Pons killing him directly because he's still alive. The original Senate funding came out of Congress, and Wayne Owens, senator from Utah, was there and argued against it. Lots of spelling mistakes in this one. Had to meet with the head of the Mormon church. Don't leave me hanging, Jeff. I want to know your relationship to Pons and cold fusion. That's pretty interesting.
Who's Pons?
Pons and Fleischman. Pons is the other guy that got demonized, massively smeared. Pons and Fleischman were the two that tried to come out with cold fusion probably 25, 30 years ago. And then here's he was linking Sayer G's breaking previously unreported federal Epstein file emails reveal that Epstein claimed he personally killed cold fusion, the discovery that could have given the world clean, limitless energy from water, not through science, through congressional defunding and a meeting with the head of the Mormon church. So there's more about that. And then I was going to just go forward to this one. Stanley Pons is still alive, by the way, but yes, it does seem Epstein played a role in stopping cold fusion funding. So interesting that Grok and GPT or whatever couldn't get me there before.
Couldn't get you off?
Couldn't get me there, no. And now that's the theory. Interesting. Well, actually, let me just stay on this weird Epstein stuff for a couple seconds here. Because this is Sayer G again saying that there's this document that revealed he was actively editing a defense health work plan that paralleled a classified DARPA program launched the same month through the same people. In February 2017, a formal work plan landed on Epstein's desk. It listed DARPA's Biological Technologies Office founding director as an advisory partner. It included a complete digital platform for the strain simulation exercise, a pandemic preparedness tool. It specified reliance on Gates's team expertise wherever relevant, and its confidentiality notice was addressed to JEE, Jeffrey E. Epstein. He didn't just receive it, he shaped it, pushing back on framing, navigating internal politics at Bill Gates's private office, and treating the document as his own. That same month, DARPA launched the pandemic prevention platform, building on its mRNA vaccine investments with the goal of producing a medical countermeasure against a pandemic disease within 60 days. So that's pretty interesting. Go ahead.
Well, I don't have any Epstein stuff. I do have some.
Okay, I have one more. How about I do one more?
Okay.
Because I think you might have called this. This woman, let me play it and then I'll read the thing.
Do you guys remember David Gilernter from the weird chronophiliac email of the this feller here? David Gilern recently lost his job at Yale for being linked back to the Epstein emails and sending like an inappropriate. Yeah, so that guy turns out he's a victim of the Unabomber. He received a mailed-in incendiary device in 1993. According to reports, the Unabomber was targeting individuals who directly were responsible for the destruction of nature and the building of new technology. And with light shed from the recent emails, people are finding that Unabomber targets were friends with Jeffrey Epstein. The Unabomber timeline, victims, and target lists are so thoroughly documented online, it takes nothing to look at the list and compare it to names searched in the database. And what's even crazier is while looking up the relationship between Unabomber and Jeffrey Epstein's friends, I found that a journalist named Jack Epstein in 2021 discovered that he had letters written to him by the Unabomber. It's all getting so convoluted now. Peace, love, and hippie drugs, and keep seeking.
That's weird. I haven't fact checked that at all. But what do you think about that? Because did you mention something about the Unabomber's victims? What?
Yeah, there's an Epstein in there, which I think was a cousin, and some other guy that turned out to be a creep. Could have been a creep. You remember this kind of fits in. Do you remember Gary McKinnon?
Yeah. He was the guy that discovered the SSP, the secret space program, names of ships that were that were off orbit, right? Off planet ships.
Does this fit in with Serpo guy and Obama going to
Well,
Mars and all that?
Kind of. I mean, kind of. If we have spaceships in the Navy, basically like the Space Force type thing, then I mean, sure, it should fit with all that stuff, I would say.
I've been watching The Expanse on, I think it's on Amazon. Have you watched that?
No, I haven't. Is it good?
You might like it. I mean, it's like there's definitely some, because it's from 2015, I think, so you can see there's like some shimmers of wokeness in it, just in some character roles, but it follows the books pretty decently, so it's not like they ran away with it. I had read the books already before I watched the shows. I mean, it might be a good idea to do the first book before you watch the show, just because they kind of rush into the show where there's a lot of different sort of like technical stuff that the first book can really hammer into your head. But I mean, that's the two guys, James S.A. Corey. I think that's the two guys that were like research writers or whatever for the Game of Thrones guy.
Oh, wow. Really? For R.R. Martin?
Yep.
Wow. That's crazy. So was Gary McKinnon, is he around now? Because I thought I saw videos of him and stuff.
Let's find out.
You also found some other pretty crazy things while you were searching in your
when did he get out? How long was his jail sentence?
That's what I mean. If he's out now, that the timing can't be coincidental.
We got to get him on the show. Check Grok for when he got out of jail. This is him though, I'm pretty sure.
Girlfriend's aunt's flat. And so, yeah, what else did you find besides this Tic Tac?
I think I was on a Navy system at the time. I can't remember, cloud of weed, etc. But there was a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet, and it was cool because I was saying earlier about my search terms. It was UFOs, ET, terrestrial, anything spacecraft, anything I could think of, which probably wouldn't be in the title of the document. But this spreadsheet was titled non-terrestrial.
This is a super long clip, so if you want to stop it at any time, just let me know.
All right.
Terrestrial office.
It's pretty gold, though.
So, not on the end.
Did you get the jail thing?
It looks like he's been cleared for a while. It said that in 2012, the UK Home Secretary Theresa May blocked his extradition to the States on human rights grounds. In December 2012, UK authorities also decided not to prosecute him domestically, ending the case entirely. So to answer directly, he didn't get out of jail. He was never sentenced to or held in long-term jail prison, just brief custody during arrest and years on bail while fighting extradition. The whole saga wrapped up with him effectively clear and free in 2012.
Wow, we should have him on the show.
That seems super weird that he's all of a sudden now here.
Think of, which probably wouldn't be in the title of the document. But this spreadsheet was titled non-terrestrial officers. So not on the Earth, which isn't necessarily alien. It could just mean space-based Marines or, secret space force. And that was incredible. It had ship names. It had materiel, the military spelling, not material. And it was transfers of weird chemicals like molybdenum and other weird things that are hard to pronounce. Ship-to-ship transfers and fleet-to-fleet transfers. And at the time, I looked up the ship names thinking US Navy, must be boats. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
What do you remember the names of the people?
No, I don't remember any of the names of the people, but there were long lists, I think it was just initial surname.
Do you think he actually doesn't remember, or do you think he got told if he ever says the name, he's dead?
I think he doesn't remember. I don't think I'd remember names either. Like because he probably doesn't have, it's not like he has,
remember one or two.
What?
You think you'd see a Buzz name in there too, don't you?
Well, he remembers the names of the ships, I bet, if you listen to.
If you've seen Obama on there and then you became president, you'd be like, wait a second. Wouldn't you?
I don't think there were first names. And the ship names, I was expecting like USS Lincoln or, Navy ships, but there was none of that. And it wasn't Google at the time. I think it was Alta Vista, the biggest search engine at the time. And none of it was seagoing vessels.
So you see a list of non-terrestrial officers, and then you also see chemicals. What are the names of these chemicals?
Molybdenum, barium, something was in there.
Mm.
They were very exotic. So, what does that
Stop
imply?
clip.
Do you remember the exact? So what did
Stop clip.
Unobtainium?
Unobtainium. And barium, isn't that what they're spraying in the skies to block out the sun to whiten the shit?
Element 115.
What is molybdenum? Have you looked up what the uses are of this? Like,
Yeah, I remember molybdenum. I can't even say it now. Molybdenum. They're very exotic. They're used in like magnetics. Lots of very kind of exotic industrial processes. A lot to do with metal hardening, if I remember rightly, like metallurgy.
Wow, that's super fascinating.
Like you make it.
Sorry, stop clip. What? That's super fascinating. To be the one element or metal that's like used for all that stuff, hardening metal and magnetics. Like, in other words, it's probably maybe one of the alloys that they couldn't get off planet, so they had to export it off of Earth.
And it makes it stronger than the original two components. So again, that time now, years later, with the research you've done, the people you've interviewed, it's all making more sense, especially when we come to the biofield brown stuff and dielectrics. And,
yeah, we'll get to that.
And like nano deposition of thin layer materials.
Yes, yeah, thinly layered, thinner than a human hair or whatever, micron layered.
Yeah.
This one sample is engineered in layers thinner than microns through a process unknown on Earth and for a purpose we can only guess.
Multi-layered bismuth and magnesium sample. Bismuth layers less
This is Hal Puthoff.
than a human hair, supposedly picked up in the crash retrieval of an advanced aerospace vehicle. Nowhere could we find any evidence that anybody ever made one of these.
Okay, this is fascinating though. So you see a list of how many non-terrestrial officers?
Oh man. So my screen at the time was the old, like 800 by 600.
Reminds you of Ephraim Palermo downloading Mars pictures.
Monitors. I think I might have had 1024 by 768 resolution at the time. So your typical Excel spreadsheet without zooming in when you just load it up was probably 24 lines. And I think there was about 1.5 or 2 pages. So maybe like 30, 40 names.
You don't remember any of the last name?
He gets into some Townsend Brown stuff.
No. Sorry.
You're killing me.
You're not kidding me.
You gotta give us a little breadcrumb.
Yeah, this is one of the main like criticisms of me. Why didn't you take a bloody screenshot? Just alt print screen, alt print. But I downloaded that Excel spreadsheet. And when I got arrested, all my data was taken to ONI, Office of Naval Intelligence. So they still have my hard drives. I've tried to get them back for years, and they said, no, it's still an ongoing investigation. You can't touch it.
Office of Naval Intelligence is the oldest intelligence agency in the U.S. I think it's 1882, and it's often deeply implicated in UFOs. 1882. So the National Security Act, which created the CIA.
And then the Navy got jurisdiction over space. Which does make sense. I mean, they do really, it is more boat-like than plane-like once you're into space, it seems like. You want to play more or shut it down?
That's an interesting way. Yeah, let's keep going because I have some stuff to talk to you about him after this.
It was 1947. And, and then you had the OSS before that, which was kind of this wartime foreign intelligence effort. Yeah. But, Office of Naval Intelligence well predates all of that. And you had Thomas Townsend Brown doing a lot of spooky science work for the Navy.
Yeah.
And, and then you have this guy, Harold Malmgren, who kind of ended up giving me kind of turned into kind of a deathbed confession at the end of his life. And it was wild. I mean, he was like, the Office of Naval Intelligence knows the most about this issue. And once you go in that door, the door shuts and you can't get let out.
But so one other thing, Naval Intelligence are going to be around asking you questions about your study. They really got curious, and if they talk to you for any length of time, they'll say, holy shit, you really know a lot. they're going to offer you special access. That's how they operate. I said, what does that mean? They'll open the doors, you'll have full entry, the doors will shut, and there will be no exit the rest of your life. That is a closed system.
And he kind of implied that they approached him in certain cases, and because of the fact that it was this closed system, he didn't want to engage.
So which is basically implying if you get in on it, you're that's it.
It makes sense that there's this, I think there's a factional, almost a factional conflict over disclosure and this technology, like the ONI, like you said, it's been going on for so long, but I don't think it's because it really fits with like the way vehicles move and maneuver through space. I think it's just that they were one of the older intelligence sort of agencies, the Navy, and they probably had deep ties to all this stuff going back further than the Air Force and that other stuff. So get this, McKinnon found the names, right, of the secret space fleet. So instead of like the USS, like let's say the USS Enterprise, right? It's the USSS, United States Spaceship. So get the two names that the spaceships he found.
Enterprise?
LeMay and Hillenkotter. And those are both names of, like, I'm getting the shivers. I've forgotten about this. I haven't looked at it for so long. They go way back into UFO lore, right? Like Hillenkotter and LeMay. LeMay was the hardline Air Force general, famous for firebombing Japan in World War II, had long been linked to early UFO investigations. He was involved in Project Sign, Grudge, and Blue Book eras. Allegedly had access to classified crash retrieval materials at Wright-Patterson. That's the Air Force base you were just playing clips on. And he got furious when Senator Barry Goldwater asked about a secret UFO room there in the 60s and 70s. LeMay's name on a supposed space warship feels like a nod to Air Force/UFO secrecy threads through the 40s and 60s. And Hillenkotter was the first director of the CIA and a NICAP board member. Later on, he's one of the highest ranking officials to publicly push for UFO disclosure. In 60, he wrote, as reported in the New York Times, that high-ranking Air Force officers were soberly concerned about UFOs, but used secrecy to ridicule and downplay them to the public. He was also tied to early MJ-12 documents and broader claims of government knowledge since Roswell. Naming a Solar Warden carrier after him adds that layer of insider disclosure flavor. So what they're saying is other SSP related in theory. So an expanded lore from Corey Good. So this is getting into the stuff that you were talking about, the 20 and back, right? There are multiple alleged programs and fleets with off-planet elements. Solar Warden is the Earth orbit solar system's defense. And Dark Fleet, Nachtwaffen, German origin breakaway group, more aggressive, militaristic with large black triangular or wedge-shaped ships. No public names commonly listed. Then the interplanetary corporate conglomerate, the ICC. And this is all from Grok. Corporate run, example, Lockheed, focused on mining and trade using massive industrial ships, and others like the Global Galactic League of Nations or Earth Alliance fleets. Again, these are narrative claims without verifiable proof. Ship names aren't a big focus beyond vague USSS name prefixes for the Solar Warden Navy side. So there's like 8 Solar Warden. There's broader claims from Solar Warden that says there's 8 large motherships, which are the cigar-shaped aircraft carrier size or longer, up to 2 kilometers in some versions, acting as carriers or command vessels, and then 43 smaller scout ships or protectors, often triangular or disc-shaped like the alleged TR-3B craft.
Wow. Can I keep going?
I mean, it just fits because like so many people we know like, or I know personally 5 or 6 people that have seen these massive black silent triangles flying through the sky. They're not F-117, they're not B-2s, they're silent.
Exactly. I do have some Canada stuff to finish up here in a little while, but I want to just keep pulling on this thread for a minute. And so this is another long clip. We don't have to play the whole thing. But have you ever heard about the moon just getting here 12,000 years ago?
Yep.
The moon was brought here 12,000 years ago. Our moon is, in fact, an artificial satellite. It is not a real planet. It can literally leave our orbit underneath its own power. According to the Andromedans, it was brought here from Ursa Minor, from a star system called Chauta that had 21 planets in it. It belonged to the 17th planet and it was one of 4 moons. Now, there are ruins all over it. The map is there. There are some pictures there. There's a lot more, which I don't have today. But it will be coming out. This is why the Apollo astronauts stopped going back. It's because there was somebody already there that were told not to go back. This information's out there. Okay, our moon is 9.1 billion years old. 9.1 billion years old. It is in fact older than the Earth.
Anyway, I don't
Stop clip. You know what? You know what's interesting about that is it kind of in some ways it kind of makes sense because the moon is so pockmarked that you'd think if that was just from regular like asteroidal impacts, like how many have we seen? How many have we actually like scientifically documented over the 100? Like there's so many that it seems like it would have to be super, super old, you know?
Probably more than we think, maybe. What do you think?
I don't know, maybe. I have one more sort of on this vein if you want me to go. It's a short clip. Or what do you got?
No, you go ahead. And then I got some Catherine Austin. Did we play the Catherine Austin Fitz talking to Tucker clip?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think so. So this is from Ross Coulthart. A lot of people say he's a shill, but I have not listened to this clip, but I thought it would be appropriate for today's episode.
But just one thing I want to throw out here, and I want to cause a bit of mischief with the US government. I've just been somewhere in the United States where I know there is another portal. And I know the United States knows about it. And I was there just the other day. And guess what? It's got a big fence around it, lots of security signs. It's supposedly US Forest Service. But you know what? It's not. And it's supposedly ancient ruins of tribal art. And you know what? It's not. What's happening is that the United States is using the US Forest Service and claims of the protection of archaeological relics to keep secret from the public a portal on US soil. There, Megan.
So, I mean, have you seen the list of portals going around the internet? There's a couple in the States. And a lot of these like famous sites that people supposedly have, they're finding portals all over the place.
I'm guessing one of them is Sedona.
Close to Sedona, but not in Sedona, close to Sedona.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
I got a Cabbage Patch Kid clip.
Okay.
We haven't spent a lot of time on this show talking about.
I want to say between 1860 and 1920, there was 250,000 orphans being shipped around the country on trains in America.
Like the Cabbage Patch Kids?
Well, yeah, that's when you get into some weirder stuff where you just see all this art of kids being run in Cabbage Patches, not just like the dolls, but
Right.
that's where it comes from, is on these old postcards and just this art. They're showing kids being plucked
Like-
out of cabbage. And,
Right.
And people like fishing kids out of lakes and
Yeah.
pulling them out of wells. It's like the weirdest things. Then you get into like the World Fairs, as you were saying before. They have these incubator babies where they had exhibitions where they had all these preemies in these little, I don't know, incubator kind of things. It's like, it's the weirdest thing you've ever seen. But for some reason, like you have all these aristocrats going to these things and being in awe of premature babies. It's bizarre. It's a little bit grotesque.
I wonder if these resets are like it got too crazy, so let's just reset everybody.
It seems like that the story of America is mostly a lie. at least the expansion of it.
Yeah.
So we were saying, so what about these cities that were quote unquote founded in the 1850s or the 1870s? What if they did just find cities? Like, who would live there? Who would do all the work there? Is it possible that that's why they shipped kids across the country
to do the work,
to potentially be the worker class? And these are the people who are going to eventually populate it. Because if you really think about the logistics of it, how does it make any sense at all that you would take orphans from the East Coast and just ship them out west to do what? And who's taking care of them? That sounds like a lot of 250,000 kids.
Yeah. Who's feeding them? Yeah.
You think about that. I want to say in the 1800s, there was only 80 million people, I think, in America, in that range. So you think about like the amount of people, it would be like 250,000 when the population is
lower.
Yeah. And so you had, at the same time, you had 150,000 people in insane asylums in the United States. Now there's like orphanages as they once were, do not exist
I
anymore.
wonder if the insane asylum people were people that were protesting them changing everything and the Great Reset and saying, I don't agree with this. And they said, well, you're going to go get locked up.
Well, it's possible. One thing we have wondered is like, are these the parents of the kids? You know, 150,000 parents potentially in insane asylums, 250,000 orphans.
Too coincidental.
We might have touched on that a little bit in some of our Tartaria stuff.
Yeah.
You know, this one, okay, I got one more before we get into the Canada stuff. Interesting little clip on the paradox of time.
Aristotle, when he treats time in the physics, starts with a riddle that he never answers that goes something like this. Think about time as divided into the past, the present, and the future. And then think for a while about what the present is. How thick is the present? The present is just a limit between the past and the future. And then you get the paradox. Because the past is something that does not exist. It has existed, but it does not exist any longer. The future is something that does not exist. It will exist, but it doesn't exist. And the present is nothing. So time seemed to be a nothing dividing something non-existent from something non-existent.
He sounded like Eckhart Tolle there. The present is nothing.
It's pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
Think about it like that. All right, I got some Canada stuff to spin.
Okay,
into.
let's do one more esoteric one first, and then we'll go into the Canada stuff. So
I'm
this
gonna
is
have a good news sort of clip, not a good news, but a positive clip to end the free half and the both.
All right.
halves.
Well, this is an actual U.S. Space Force guy. He is the Space Force Chief Master Sergeant Ron Lurch, talking about technology in China.
Chinese have published papers as far back as 2019 talking about the need to do light detection and ranging from space, LiDAR. That graphic is straight out of their research paper, and what it's showing there is the ability to use potentially LiDAR to see under the water. So there's obvious implications there for submarine hunting, not just necessarily a civil application, but defense applications, if that becomes a capability that becomes real here in the next 5 years. Like I said, they've been researching stealth on orbit for decades. They actually published in a research paper this Olive B test article. And
Look at that picture of that. That's a stealth satellite up there. This mini satellite. Look at it. Looks like it looks like right out of sci-fi, really.
they believe that this would be sort of the future of what stealthy objects, stealthy microsatellites specifically, could potentially look like on orbit, because not only are they difficult to visually acquire, but that shape, they believe, would be incredibly beneficial in terms of masking their radar cross-section. They've released a lot of research papers lately that are talking about how they could use satellites to negate the effects and the positive benefits that proliferated LEO constellations give you. And they've also talked about just using a swarm of drones that are just flooding, say, the Taiwanese Strait and just jamming, thereby preventing any subscribers to be able to access even PLEO. Because again, it's a home game for them. They don't necessarily need to be worried about jamming other parts of the globe in the event that there was some sort of conflict to kick off on their home turf.
Interesting, eh? So there's a blow up of that picture there of the Olive B stealth microsatellite. Just going to see if I'm missing anything out of this. They actually published in a research paper, the Olive B test article. They believe this would be sort of the future of what stealthy objects, stealthy microsatellites specifically, could potentially look like on orbit. And then this guy comments down here, the U.S. government and DARPA pioneered hyperspectral imaging, not LiDAR, and has had the capability of seeing beneath the surface of the water for almost 2 decades. So we're calling all UFOs or ARVs Chinese microsatellites from now on. Memo received. That's a good point, Joe Montecalvo. All right. Oh, look at this guy. I got into engineering school, Northwestern. My dad asked for a scholarship instead of over $200,000 of tuition, and Northwestern's admission head told my dad, basically, fuck you, pay me. Who paid? China, for its students to attend the best schools and take it back home. Now, there you go.
All right, let's pivot to Canada for a couple minutes. Here's not a Canadian. Here's Douglas Murray. Let me know what you think. Have you listened to this yet?
No, I purposely did not.
Why?
Well, I just got a bit of a bad taste in my mouth after his debate with Dave Smith.
Yeah, I knew that was going to do it.
Yeah. It's like I'm just like, I used to
Dave
like.
Smith's a twerp too, so I mean, it's.
Now Canada has become really interesting. It became interesting in January and February of this year. Why? Because you had protesters.
Stop clip.
In Ottawa.
Can you turn it up a bit?
Maybe.
Yeah, it's just a little low. There you go.
Really interesting when people come out in large numbers. And you know what the job of reporters is? The job of reporters is to go out and say, why are you on the streets? What brought you here? Why are you here with your kids? Why have you got a bouncy castle in the middle of Ottawa? That's a bit strange. Ask them questions. Just find out the story. But you know what? The government didn't want that in Canada. Your Prime Minister decided in advance that these people were, what did he do? All the modern excommunications. They were Nazis, they were white supremacists, they were anti-Semites, they were probably homophobes, they were misogynists, they were probably transphobes, etc., etc., etc. He did all the things you do in the modern political age if you want to just defenestrate somebody who's awkward to you. And then he brings in the Emergency Powers Act. Now, at such a time, what would the mainstream media do? It would question it. It would question it. The Canadian mainstream media did not. The Canadian mainstream media acted as an amen chorus of the Canadian government. I will give you a couple of examples, but ladies and
What do you think so far?
Well, I think it's an old clip.
It's an old clip, yeah.
Yeah, I've probably heard it, and it's I can't wait for the examples because I mean it's good that it's getting some international attention.
gentlemen, I could go on for hours with examples of this. You had a CBC host describing the Freedom Convoy as a, quote, feral mob. You had a Toronto Star columnist saying, quote, sorry for the language, it's a homegrown hate farm that was then jet-fueled by an American right-funded rat-fucking operation. Jesus, they can't even write at these papers anymore.
They have to blame the right
said
all
that
the
two
time.
Indigenous women who were so scared to go outside in Ottawa because of racist violence didn't bother to mention that Indigenous drummers had led the truckers in an O Canada rendition. The National Observer said that the many Black and Indigenous Freedom Convoy supporters were in fact duped by the truckers. The Globe and Mail reporter said, my 13-year-old son told me to tell protesters I'm not a Jew out of fear of anti-Semitic violence without mentioning that one of the leaders of the convoy was himself Jewish. Now, why is this so rancid? Utterly, utterly rancid and corrupt. Because in this country, your media, your mainstream media, is funded by the government.
Wah, wah. Finish it up?
Sure.
A totally corrupted system. In 2018, election year, coincidence, the Canadian media has given $595 million over 5 years. The Toronto Star estimated it was going to be getting $3 million from the government in the first half of the year. It went on and on. So you see, the mainstream, the government in Canada can tell people they can tell the banks to shut down people's bank accounts. Oh yeah, your government can do that. And if you're happy with that, just think about what would happen if the shoe was on the other foot. The government can do that. But in Canada, they can also tell the media what to do. and the media does the bidding of the Canadian government. That isn't a free society's media.
Boom.
Yeah, that's good. So, did you see the Indigenous freak out about the new title that's given to the whole Greater Vancouver area?
I did see something about that.
Everybody's freaking out, and it's like, and it's not the same as the Cowichan one. I've been tempted to just start, because I asked Rock about the difference between that and that. Like they're not. Supposedly, it doesn't affect fee title, like fee simple title. It's not about people's personal property is not going to get affected, supposedly. I know it's still alarming, but everybody's freaking out, right? All these things people are just freaking out on.
It's freak out mode. I mean, they're going to do a pretty good job about pitting the Indians against everyone else.
Well, it doesn't help when they get this. Like, so SFU is hiring a tenured professor for AI for engineering. The selection, what?
I could do that.
The selection for this, hey, you fit in because you're First Nations, dude. You can just slot right in.
Swoop in.
The selection for this position will be limited to candidates who self-identify as an Indigenous person. Do you self-identify as that, Darren?
Yes.
First Nations, Inuit, or Métis. A person with a disability. I'm short.
That's not a disability.
That's not disability yet. When will short become a disability?
You're not even that short.
I'm at a disadvantage to the taller guys who get way more
that short.
CEO positions and what?
You're stuck in the middle of not short enough to be a minority.
I'm just short enough to be a dwarf, not a hobbit.
Just short enough
come
to be
on. And or a gender minority, and or a woman. So a woman can get this
minority.
What?
Just say you're non-binary or something.
Yeah. Self-identify as any of that stuff. So that's Canada has been legally discriminating against straight, white, able-bodied men for 4 decades, even though certain minorities now earn higher wages. The racist 1986 Employment Equity Act should be repealed. So, and then did you hear about what happened to that couple that found something on in their property?
Yeah. Yeah, I got in a fight with what's his name, that Indian dude for the Mohawk dude on Twitter.
Really?
Because I was like, this is a good way to make sure that people just fucking take this shit to the dump the next time.
Yeah. Here we go.
Realized we were in trouble when we were told by the registrar's office it could be 30 to 50 or 30 to 80,000. I think that's when we first had a moment of like, oh my God.
They learned that a burial site investigation is hefty work. One quote estimated 27 days, a crew of 6, 100 square meters of dirt sifted through screens, and local Indigenous oversight. The total, $319,000. If more ancestral remains or artifacts are found, that number could grow.
The reality is our entire property could be dug up to be able to find what it is that they're making sure that they kind of address. But if they find more, I mean, this could swell to $1 million.
There have been at least 100 sites of Indigenous ancestral remains or artifacts documented within a 6-kilometer radius of the Rayos' property. The township of Wainfleet declined an on-camera interview. In an email, they said they're neither qualified nor authorized to speculate on what may exist beneath a particular property.
So, what was your guy saying here? The Canadian couple's building contractor finds Indigenous grave, and they get billed $300,000. And if there's more artifacts, it could be on the hook for over $1 million. This is why no one invests in Canada. So, what was his argument about it?
Whose argument?
You said
I don't know. I don't really engage. I just make smart ass comments and move on.
Finding archaeology should feel like a discovering history under your feet, not triggering financial ruin. We can respect Indigenous remains, protect heritage, and still design a system where ordinary homeowners aren't bankrupted for something they didn't cause. Preservation matters, so does basic fairness. This is all wrong.
Yeah, because the next time people just won't say nothing.
And here's the guy. Do you know this guy? Here we go.
Mr. Speaker, Edmonton's violent crime rate has increased 16.5% in just 12 months. And in 2022 alone, it represented the highest number of violent criminal incidents ever reported in a single year. The even scarier part, Mr. Speaker, This trend has carried into 2023, with violent criminal occurrences increasing by 6% in the first quarter of this year compared to the first quarter of last year. In fact, we're seeing a 68% of violent offenders who were arrested and released become involved with the police again. These are the highest rates of crime in our city's history.
68% being involved again. I heard a personal anecdote. I have a personal anecdote about hearing about some crime around here. 67 times this guy's got caught. And he keeps going.
Century Club. Go for 100, brother.
I mean, it's unbelievable, right? No wonder why people are so furious.
This is why organizations across the country are calling for bail reforms to keep violent offenders behind bars. After 8 years of the Liberals' catch and release crime policies, Canadians don't feel safe walking down the street or taking transit. In fact, Mr. Speaker, what's even scarier is that these policies are just making it worse.
So what did this guy do about it? What do you think he did about it?
Join the Liberals.
He crossed the floor to join Liberals. You think he went there just to help help that problem?
That problem specifically.
Yeah. Less than 3 years later, he's joining the party that caused the crisis. What do you think convinced him to make this choice?
They got dirt on him.
They got dirt on him, probably. I mean, yeah, that's what people say. So then the other thing, the Canadian thing, and then I'm done. Just this, share this tab instead. I mean, this is another thing I think is getting blown out of proportion, maybe, but you'll probably have more information on this. But for the first time ever, LNG, so liquid natural gas, sailed 25,000 kilometers from Australia to Eastern Canada. So for the first time ever. So I didn't know that, but it's 174,000 of cubic meters of LNG, 78,000 tons, $40 million cargo over a month at sea, 15,000 and plus tons of CO2 burned just to get here, the annual emission of 3,300 cars, all while Canada sits on some of the largest natural gas reserves on earth. We don't lack gas, we lack pipelines. So instead of moving Western Canadian energy east, we import it from the other side of the planet and call ourselves climate leaders. Let that sink in. We tax Canadians in the name of carbon reduction, then ship fuel across oceans instead of using our own.
They don't even need to build a pipeline. I mean, Quebec has loads of natural gas that they're just not developing. There's Nova Scotia has natural gas that they're not developing. So
7 million cubic feet of 7 trillion cubic feet of natural gas in Nova Scotia. But instead of extracting it, they order it from 26,000 kilometers away to be green. This is why Canada is poorer than Alabama and Nova Scotia is even poorer than Mississippi. But I just thought maybe this is like an odd circumstance, a one-off purchase, but it sounds like it's the first time they've done this. So I don't know if it's more or less, but I mean, this gets into that media problem, right? The media will never approach this and call out the government and help us fix it. They're just mouthpieces for the government.
Hopefully it keeps working out for them.
Yes, our inability to connect dots is why Canada can only virtue signal its way into oblivion. Apparently, the carbon footprint of the tanker doesn't count, just the carbon footprint of what we extract from the ground in Canada. We are this nuts and this ridiculously ungreen.
Green, that's nothing. Check this out. You might have seen this one already going around. Made as an alternative to poverty.
Oh my God, yeah.
Amir Farsood has applied for medically assisted dying, known as MAID. He lives in constant agony due to a back injury, but has started the process for end of life because his rooming house is up for sale and he can't find anywhere else to live that he can afford. He barely survives on Ontario disability support payments, which are just over $1,200 a month. He doesn't want to die, but being homeless is not an option.
I know in my present health condition, I wouldn't survive it anyway.
Farsood meets the criteria for MAID, physical suffering due to disability that cannot be relieved. His doctor, who knows Farsood's real reason for MAID is his fear of being homeless, signed off on the application in August. Farsood needs a second to do the same. There's a 90-day waiting period. He believes he could potentially access MAID in about a month.
I don't wish to be dead, even with the pain, even with the meds. I still want to be here.
So they're coming for the poor now. I wonder how long before they come for the podcasters.
I saw the arguments online about this, and they just the people that support it just don't seem to understand the slippery slope that it is. Right. The point that people are making is that, like his example, where the treatments might be available in the States, or they might be too expensive for Canadian healthcare, or Canadian healthcare just can't do anything. So there's no incentive to do anything, because then they just provide this made for people, right? So they're poor. There's other reasons why maybe they can't get the proper relief.
Well, it's too bad Scott Adams passed away, because I would have liked to ask him that slippery slope question. And we'll end it up on a bit of a positive note with this one. Have you heard the black coffee theory?
No.
Most people don't get the things they want out of life for this very reason. You want to rewire your brain. Have you ever heard of the black coffee theory? The black coffee theory goes that you go to a coffee shop and you really want a latte. But when you get up to the barista, she asks what you want, and you say, I don't know. I just know that I don't want a black coffee. She asks again, but what do you want? You say, I don't know. I just really know that I don't want a black coffee. The barista walks away confused. She's dealing with multiple orders. And when it comes time to get yours, the only thing she can recall is black coffee. A few minutes go by and a black coffee lands on your table, because that's all you talked about. And most people are living their lives this way, even if they're not vocalizing it. I don't want to be poor. I don't want to be stuck in a feeling of lack. I don't want to feel invisible. I don't want to feel angry. Even if you're not vocalizing it, you're internalizing those feelings. Whatever you don't want in life, if you focus on that, be prepared to receive it the most. You need to be specific, very specific about what you want out of this life. You want a latte. Black coffee has nothing to do with it.
I love that. That's a great example. Yeah.
That's a good one. All right. Well, it'll also be a good one if we had some more people sign up for Plus. If they want to get these full shows, head to GrimericaOutlawed.ca. Sign up for Plus today. Of course, you can also get it on Patreon and YouTube and all that sort of stuff as well. But GrimericaOutlawed.ca really is the best spot to sign up. Check out Grimerica.ca for other podcasts. Contact at thecabin.com for trips and events. Adultbrain.ca for all those audiobooks and everything else. Graham, you want to start us off in that second half?
Okay. I think we've heard Dowd speak about this